28 Days Later from 2002. Now let me pull up the little synopsis here. A group of misguided animal rights activists free a caged chimp infected with the rage virus from a medical research lab. When London, there's a picture of it. Sorry. When London bike courier Jim Cillian Murphy, who also had a cameo in The Dark Knight Rises, much like me, wakes up from a coma a month after, he finds the city all but deserted. On the run from the zombie-like victims of the rage, Jim stumbles upon a group of survivors, including Selena, Naomi Harris, and cab driver Frank, Brendan Gleeson, and joins them on a perilous journey to what he hopes will be safety. Spoiler, it's not safety. It's a setup, and a lot of shit's going to hit the fan. And that's 28 Days Later. Now, Gil, when did you first see this movie?
I think I saw it within a couple of years of it coming out.
Yeah, I think I rented it with my friend Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
And we watched it, and this is one of those, like, I was too young to appreciate it the first time I watched it. Because it was 2002, and I was like 12. I wanted like more. I'm watching like the Dawn of the Dead and stuff. Like I wanted more zombie action, more gore. And this was like too slow paced for me.
Yeah, I think for me, honestly, this was early on in my ability to access R-rated movies.
Okay.
Like I don't, we rented it at home and watched it, so I had not yet been desensitized to horror. So for me at the time, this was more zombie-like action than I'd seen in any movie, and I also was not used to having anything subverted. The idea of going for rescue, I was too young to know. Obviously, that's going to go poorly. Yeah. So when things go insane at the end, it blew my mind. I loved the movie the first time I saw it, but then when you come back to it years later, you start to appreciate more of the layers beneath just the action and the thriller side of it.
Yes, I was going to say, I didn't appreciate it the first time. And also, I see someone in the chat, and I remembered I have to show something that they did recently. I didn't appreciate it the first time I watched it. And then years later, skipping ahead just a little bit, I did watch 28 Weeks Later, and I remember liking that one right away. And I went, what was the difference here? And then I went back and watched 28 Days Later, and it was like the Danny DeVito meme. I get it. I get it now. I finally get it. I enjoyed it way more when I went back and revisited. I guess I just had a bunch of I had too many expectations of what the movie was. I kept hearing it was so good, and I don't know. I guess I was expecting something bigger. But real quick, our good fan AJ Wizzle, who was in the chat, he actually wrote an article recently for Zeus Media about 28 Days Later and how effective it was. And I like this. He mentions that the camera they used. This is like. And he was doing this for a while, Danny Boyle. He was making these like big movies, and he was using just like cameras you could just buy in a store for them. He shot like a couple things on like DV. What does this say, AJ? It was a Canon XL1 handheld DV camera to shoot most of the movie or some of the movie, I think. And it definitely does have that early digital feel of digital video. And it gives the movie a really unique look. How do you feel about like the way the movie looks?
Oh, I love it. I mean, I don't think it was entirely an artistic choice. Like some of it was literally, we need to keep the budget down.
Yeah.
We need to we need cameras that are very maneuverable. Like when we're trying to shoot the streets, we want to get them as empty as possible. Okay, now it's good. Shoot it for like 3 seconds. They have to be very easy to pick up, turn on, and put down. But I think it ended up working very well for the movie because it gives it a sort of found footage feel. Like even when the title comes up 28 Days Later, it's not presented as a title card. It's presented as if this were a documentary. It's saying 28 years after the events you just witnessed, or 28 days later after these events, now this happens. It gives the movie such a grounded feel. And I feel like especially when you're dealing with fantastical stuff like zombie-like creatures, the more grounded you can make it feel, obviously, the more impact it's going to have when the carnage actually comes.
Yeah, I also think other directors tried to do this at some point. I think Michael Mann did that movie Public Enemies
Mm-hmm.
from 2009 with Johnny Depp. Did you ever see that one?
No, no, I don't think so.
And I think if I remember right, someone verify this for me, but I think he also shot like some of the scenes on digital video in
Mm-hmm.
addition to like film. Hold on, I'm trying to see it here. If
That
I
stuff
remember,
is always disappointing. You're like, I can make a movie. Like even
oh
28 years later, we shot it on iPhones, and you look at all the behind the scenes videos. You're like, well,
yeah,
what's all that stuff you have attached to the iPhone?
yeah, he shot it with like an F23 digital camera, like a
Mm-hmm.
Sony. And apparently, I remember people at the time thinking like, I feel like that movie should have looked better, but it kind of looked cheap. So yeah, there was that weird period where people were trying to switch over to like digital stuff, and now everything's pretty much shot digital.
It's also
Well,
like
like
there's a lot of
30
there's all the context around the movie,
mm,
and when you know it's like a big budget filmmaker who's
yeah,
using the cheaper camera on purpose, it
mm,
just hits you differently. For
yeah,
28 Days Later, when you know, like you can feel that like DIY energy
yeah.
behind the movie of like we're like a scrappy production, and I think you almost subconsciously allow it more. It doesn't come off as disingenuous or cheesy that they're shooting
Yeah.
it this way.
But yeah, I really, really like this film. I love that it skips over the whole like initial zombie apocalypse. First off, the fucking idiots who let the chimpanzee out. Okay, they didn't know it was a rage infected chimpanzee, right? They didn't know. They didn't know. They should have like taken pictures and stuff and went back and reported it or something. Because a regular, not rage infected chimpanzee, I don't want to let that out of its cage when I'm around it in like a small room. It's gonna murder me. They're
Right,
like,
shit
oh
that's
yeah,
clearly agitated, like whether it's infected with agitation or just
yeah,
has it, you don't want to let it out. Like, are we equipped to take care of this animal?
yeah. Chimpanzees once they hit like puberty and get to a certain age, like they can't be around humans anymore. That's why like all the ones in movies are like younger. Like I'm not gonna be like, look at this. Isn't this awful what they're doing? Should we let them out? Oh God. God, no, no, leave them in there. Someone else can let them out. I don't have any. They didn't have trank guns or anything. I don't know what they were gonna do. There are like 17 chimps in that lab. What the fuck were they planning on doing?
It is funny because I do feel like it's unintentionally sort
Mm.
of counter to a lot of the messaging in these
Yeah,
movies, which is by the end, it's very distrustful of
yeah,
governments
yeah,
and the army, people who are supposed to protect us, or
mm,
even the fact that they were manufacturing this virus to begin with.
yeah,
And they don't get into a lot of what are they actually trying to achieve. I mean, besides the one line of like, in order to control, first you must understand.
mm.
And even in the script, there's like a little bit more context given.
Okay,
I forget the exact quote, but the implication is basically they want to be able to, just imagine to have power over all the things we feel we can't control,
mm,
anger, violence. The implication I get from that
yeah,
is they would use it for essentially crowd control. Like if you ever saw
yeah,
the movie Equilibrium, where everyone's
yes,
taking pills to like tamp down their
mm,
emotions, like you get the vibe that they're trying to manufacture this dystopian future in that lab. So like
mm.
we should not trust the government, but then the ones who screw everything up are these animal activists who you think would be kind of on the side of the filmmakers for these movies.
Yeah. I guess there are really no good guys in this situation. But yeah, I liked Cillian Murphy when he wakes up going around like London and it's just completely empty. And now it makes me sad whenever I see London attack because I'm always like, oh, my good friend Manny Muskets is from there. I hope Manny's okay. I hope his family's okay over there. But yeah, so he's walking around. I love when he finds the fuck you, they're zombies. I'm calling them zombies. Do you get hung up on the zombie thing though? You should call them infected. You
No,
should call
so
them infected.
the way I finally, this has been a paradox in my mind ever since
Mhm.
I saw this movement. How
Yeah.
do I reconcile this complication? Are they zombies or not? And this is what I finally came down on.
Mhm.
If you have a friend who's just getting into movies, they
Yeah.
see Dawn of the Dead, they see Return of the Dead,
Mhm.
Return of the Living Dead. They're like, I love zombie movies, man. You're a film fan. Do you have any other zombie movies to recommend? And then in your mind, like, I can't say 28 Days Later, they're technically not zombies. If he then saw the movie later, he would come back and be like, hey, why didn't you tell me about this great movie? And I'm like, well, technically, it's not a zombie movie. And to
And
me, go ahead.
you know what pisses me off? The whole technically not a zombie. It's like, okay, well, the zombie movies you're thinking of are not technically zombies. That's a Haitian voodoo thing
Right.
where you're supposed to do like a spell and everything. So if we're gonna get really like nitpick everything, like they're not fucking zombies either. It's just an easy way to say
Yeah.
what the name of that it's like calling the creature Frankenstein. It's like, we know that's not like the name. We know that's not right. It just makes
Right.
it easier for everyone. Come on.
They're not zombies, but it's a good shorthand, and this is clearly in the zombie genre. That's where
Yeah.
I come down on it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, not every vampire or werewolf has the same rules and abilities and stuff, but you still call them vampires or werewolves. This is fine. Um, I did love in the newest movie, skipping ahead, they did refer to them as zombies. I'm like, oh, thank God they said it. They said it in universe so we can stop fighting about this
Yeah.
shit.
Oh, I saw an interview with Alex Garland where they're like, "So you guys finally used the word zombie," and he looked so confused. He was like, "What? When are you talking about?" Like he just couldn't care less about it and didn't even remember it. And then, so they actually a couple days ago started selling the screenplay as a book, and I was curious and I picked it up.
Yeah.
And the word zombie is not in the screenplay, so I think Danny Boyle added it during filming. And maybe in that interview, Garland was like, "Wait, what? They're not zombies? Who put that in my movie?"
He just rips up the scripts for the next 3 movies that they're planning. I don't want anything to do with this. So one thing I like about the zombies in this is that you get around a lot of the old like cliches and stuff. So you get bitten, you're a zombie, right? Almost right away. And I love that moment where he meets up with Selena, or is it Celine? Celine or Selena? Hold on.
I believe it's Selena. Pretty sure.
Yes, it is Selena.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Jim meets up with Selena, she's there with another guy, and he gets bit just a little bit, and she, without hesitation, just hacks him up with a machete. She's not taking any chances. So yeah, if blood gets into your mouth or your eyes or any open wounds, or if they bite you, you're a zombie. It's like 10, 13 seconds max, and you switch. So we get rid of the cliche of, oh, I got bit and I have to hide it. Which is, it's funny when Shaun of the Dead made fun of it, but then zombie movies kept doing that cliche afterwards. And it's like, all right, no, this guy's getting a little old here. It's kind of hard to do this cliche now.
Yeah, I mean, once a genre has parodied itself, and then it keeps, and it becomes a zombie genre, basically.
Yeah.
But they turn up the zombies to the extreme in every respect, with how quickly they turn you. Of course, the fact that they run, and every time they show up, they're breaking through a window or crashing through something. So it's loud. The music kicks in. There's always a character yelling someone's name. Like one of the parts of the movie that's imprinted in my memory from the first time I saw it, when they're running up the stairs, like, Selena! Just him yelling over and over. It's just, you're terrified every time they show up.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. So they are 100% rage all the time. I love when he finds them in the church. They're like not technically sleeping, I think. I just think they're like conserving energy because they've run out of things to rage against, and they just look like they're comatose. And I love when they wake up and they like can't run yet because I think their like limbs need to wake up a little bit.
Well,
that scene terrified me in the church when he's like, hello, and the one guy just turns up and just freezes. I'm like, oh God, that's so fucking scary.
I also love how it's a little bit undefined exactly what they're doing. Like they're not trying to eat you. Like they'll bite you and maybe they'll eat you a little, but it's not like they've become cannibals. It's like literally they've just turned up the rage impulse, turned off everything else, and they're just existing on pure instinct.
Well, they want to attack and kill, but I think once your blood's infected, they know that you're one of them, so they stop. So I think that's why they don't really eat you too much. They do kill people. I think that's just like they go a little too hard, too fast. It is like regular zombie movies, like Dawn of the Dead. They rip that guy up into like 500 pieces. Like, well, he's not coming back as a zombie. They got a little carried away with that one.
Right? Yeah, that is always a weird contradiction in zombie movies. It's like, well, they want to eat you, but biting you is what turns you into. I guess you can die in any manner, and it turns you into a zombie. So you'll always have a healthy supply.
Yeah. But with these, I just think the infection takes over so quick. So once they realize it's in your system, they're just like, okay, I'm going to leave this guy alone. And then they come up and they become, because we see like as soon as they get bit, they just join along. They're like, cool, yeah, I'm with you guys. It's awesome. Right. But yeah, so yeah, I like Jim. I do like when he meets with Brendan Gleeson, Frank, but no offense to the little girl, but she's not the best actress. She's not the best actress. So there's a point, a really dark moment later on where they drug her to cope with something horrible that's about to happen. And she's acting all like loosey-goosey. And it wasn't much different than her regular acting. Like, I know she's supposed to be drugged and tired, but like she kind of sounded like that to begin with.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I feel like this isn't hitting as hard as it should.
Yeah, we must
Um,
work together, and together maybe we can find hope.
yeah, yeah. She kind of brings the movie down. Everyone else is great in this. Everyone else went into great things. Which got Naomi Harris got to be Moneypenny in the James Bond movies,
Yeah.
and she was in an okay Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and then she was in that terrible one where she remember she turned into a giant and became crabs. What the
That
fuck?
might have been when I stopped watching those movies.
You know what? Good place to jump off. Really good place to jump off there. Um, yeah, so I like some of the moment, like some of the quieter moments of this movie. I really like when Jim like finds his parents, and
Yeah.
we find out that like they basically committed suicide, so they didn't have to deal with all this, and they because they thought mistakenly that he was dead, because like, well, he's in the hospital in the middle of the city. Clearly, he's dead. So, although his room must have been super fortified, why didn't no raid zombie go in there and get him?
Yeah. Well, they do say on the note they left him, they were like, "Don't wake up." So that made me think they
Uh,
knew he was still alive, but they figured he's probably not going to come out of this coma. So they
yeah.
assumed like he'll go in his sleep, it'll be
Or
peaceful.
even if he could come out of the coma, there's zombies everywhere, so he's not
Yeah.
going to make it very far. Um, yeah, so I like that moment, and then I like later on where Brendan Gleeson wakes him up and he's still half asleep. And he calls Brendan Gleeson like dad, so like he's still it hasn't fully sunk into him yet. And I
Yeah.
love the dream sequence he has. There's
But when
this
he sees
really
like the horses running around.
yeah, it was like sheep and horse running and using. I don't know. There's a lot of dream-like moments in this, and I think the DV camera actually helps with that, give it like this unnatural look. So yeah, I really like those moments. The
Well,
movie
on
takes
that point though,
yeah,
where you're saying it
yeah,
feels like dreamlike,
yeah,
I would say throughout the movie, it often has a really surreal feeling, and I
mhm,
think that's part of what makes the movie so special.
yeah,
Like even you mentioned earlier that awesome moment where right after he comes out of the coma, it's
mhm,
surreal seeing him run around and start picking up money as
yeah,
if that's going to do anything for him, and
yeah,
then that awesome music kicks in. There's
mhm,
even one part, like another surreal moment where they all get to the grocery store and like they're laughing and having a great
mhm,
time, which just feels weird in this context. Right after that scene, as they're driving away, they do something weird with like the camera filter and they make it literally look like they're driving through a painting where you
yeah,
see like the flower bed looks like Van Gogh drew it.
yeah,
So the movie just, and I think it's funny because one of the ways I compliment the movie is by saying how real it feels. But I think sometimes life feels surreal. Like
yeah,
if you were to wake up in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, it would be that feeling of this can't be true. Even
mhm.
Jim says, I wake up in the hospital, I'm hallucinating or something. Like he doesn't know what's going on. And they make you feel that so well.
Yeah, and I like the two different I like that everyone else has experienced this like pandemic in two different ways. So like Frank and his daughter were like barricaded in the apartment. Celine's been on the ground. Selena's been on the ground fighting these things. So like Jim is the 28 days behind everyone else, and so they have to like have him like catch up. I do like it explores like certain things in zombie apocalypse that you wouldn't think about. It's like, oh, he's crashes. Yeah, all we have is sugar. Like
Right.
literally, I'm finding food that's all just high in sugar, and you're crashing, so I can
Yeah.
give you aspirin and more sugar.
He's like, I have a headache. I don't feel good. She's like, why didn't you say anything? I'm like, because you've been talking to me like this the whole time. I didn't think you'd care.
Yeah, at some point, Selena's got to be like, "Oh, right, you've been asleep for 28 days." I did like when Frank had all the buckets on the roof and they're in foggy London town. He's like, "Yeah, and it hasn't rained. We're only in
Yeah.
bloody London." Like I was really banking on it at raining at some point so I could drink this, but I can't.
And he's such like he really does feel like a father figure. Like when Jim
Mm,
finds him, like the movie just feels safer and he's like a
yeah.
little bit happier than everybody else,
Mm,
which is such a perfect contrast. Like you said with the girl, when she starts acting different, you barely
yeah.
notice. But him, when he loses his temper later
Mm,
and when he's yelling, like that really lands because the rest
yeah.
of the movie, you're like, I love this guy.
Yeah, he's really cool. I love when he just knocks that zombie down the stairwell, and I love the dummy of it just hitting every freaking guardrail in between the stairs. That was so
They
cool.
beat John Wick 4 to it by about like
Yes.
20 years.
So yeah, it the movie then takes a shift. When Frank dies, he gets real mad. So they've been following this radio broadcast to come to this thing. The cure is here. The
The
salvation
answer
is
to
here.
infection.
is here. The answer to infection is here. So they're making their way. They come to a blockade. Frank gets mad. He yells at some crows. Okay.
I remember the phrasing. He was like, "Get out of it. Get out of it." And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
a sentence I've never said before, but he really says it in a very memorable way. Yeah.
Listen, I said this movie avoided a lot of cliches. You'll still get characters doing something stupid. Like, just leave the crow alone. Who cares? So yeah, the crow just gets blood into Frank's eye, drives him nuts, and they have to mercy kill. And this is the second person, because I forgot Jim kills like a kid, and that's like the first infected that he killed. And I love that he's like, everything okay? He's like, yeah, everything's fine. Like, he just doesn't want to admit that, like, what he just did. Which again is also from Dawn of the Dead, when what's his face has to kill the two kids when they fueled up the helicopter. So yeah, Frank dies, and then they meet the military. Mm-hmm. Who is that? Christopher Eccleston, right?
I think that's right.
Yes, of course. We all know him from Thor: The Dark World. And I guess he's like a Doctor Who or something. What else is Christopher Eccleston in? Hold on.
Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah.
Thor: The Dark World. Yeah, you covered that.
Thor: The Dark World. Doctor
3 episodes of True Detective.
Ooh, he did.
I'll say he was perfectly cast in this movie. Like, he played that role so well.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. He was Destro in G.I. Joe: Rise of Cobra, which I reviewed. He was also in The Others. He's Nicole Kidman's ghost husband in The Others, which I also reviewed. So yeah, he is great in this. And this is, again, another zombie cliche where it's like this, you think the zombies are bad. It's actually, man, that's the problem. And we saw it. Yeah, we saw it in Night of the Living Dead, where it's like no one can get along in the house and work together. We saw it in Dawn of the Dead, where the biker gang, free of any rules and laws and consequences for their actions, will just turn mad and start killing people for fun, even though there's a zombie apocalypse. They should be working together. So here we learn that the answer to infection is to rebuild again. I do like that he has this guy on a chain. So this is one of his soldiers that got infected. I'm like, why are you keeping him here? He's like, because I want to know if he ever gets tired of this. He's like, and I want to know how long it's going to take for him to starve to death, because these things aren't eating yet. So yeah, it gets real dark, because he's like, yeah, so, I had this whole plan to take over, but my men were getting restless. So I promised them women. It's like, oh shit, this is terrifying. They try to kill Jim. Jim is somehow able to beat all of these guys.
Yeah, well, which I'll say is like part of the reason I love this movie so much is because like nothing feels as good as watching Jim come back and take them all out. And I think like when you start to delve into the layers of this movie, it's about rage. And one of the things that Danny Boyle said drew him to the script is that it's about societal rage. And like the opening images of what the chimp is watching is basically social unrest, uprising. So that's kind of one of the themes. And I think part of what it's saying is that we all have rage inside us. And, Jim obviously becomes the infected. He has to go into a rage in order to defeat them. But I think part of what it's saying is that rage is actually kind of intoxicating. And it is useful in certain circumstances. Like when he needs to go into a rage and kill all these people. And I'll say as a viewer, it feels awesome. And it's got that great music to it.
Although I don't know. I think freeing the zombie was too big of a risk. I wouldn't have done that part.
Messy.
That's real messy.
Rewatching the movie more recently, if I were to nitpick it, I think this is where some sort of silly stuff happens. Like the Major telling Jim what they're up to. Like, I promised them women. Like, he does that very fast. And he has to know that Jim is not going to go along with it at that point. Maybe he knows he's not going to go along, but he's like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a shot. Why not? But okay, even if you buy that, then when Jim's like, I need to get Hannah and Selena, we need to get out of here. And instead of being like, guys, we got to get out of here, he's like, we have to go. Come on. And he just alerts everybody. So there's some silly stuff, but like the overall arc of it, I really enjoy.
I did like the little operation they had there where they just set up mines during the day and they just call the zombies and just like annihilate them as they're running. Yeah, they were gonna be held up there for a while. It was an awkward moment toward the end where like there's like an attempted like assault with the girls, and like Selena's like drugging the one girl, Jim's killing everyone, and they're like, this seems like an appropriate time to have a guy scream like a girl in a comedic moment across the street. I'm like, I don't know, maybe earlier. I'm like, and now
It's
now I
part
got a
of the
lot of
surrealism. It's wacky. It's weird.
I just love the like the guy coming in after.
Well, I love when you first arrive.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what to expect. And like
Yeah.
the first thing you see is that all these soldiers are acting like children.
Yeah.
Like one of them's wearing an apron and like acting silly. One of them's like driving the car around and he's like, I need the food so I can cook. And you're like, oh boy. Like at the best case scenario, they're incompetent. Worst case, they're up to something devious.
Like, I don't think these guys were put on the front lines for a reason. And now that's just
Yeah,
like,
why were they the ones who survived? They were the ones back at camp, you know?
But I love the colonel or whatever's like speech. He's like, you know what I saw today? People killing people. You know what I saw before that? People killing people. He's like, that's just like a normal thing. Humanity's gonna kill each other. And like, someone should raise their hands. Like, yeah, I know what you're like doing, buddy, but this is like a totally different thing.
And also,
this isn't killing because they're choosing. This is like their brain has been rewired. They don't really have any free will. Like, it's a little different this time. We can all agree.
Right. I think it's like that ties into Selena's whole arc in the movie because she starts out with a similar mindset.
Yeah.
Where, you know, she's become very cynical and she probably had to in order to survive. You know, she became hardened. But you find out that when you have a certain worldview, you're going to find a pile of evidence to support it because you're not seeing and not looking for the other side of it, you know, until she met Frank and Hannah. And she sees it's all, to be honest, it's like pretty on the nose. Like it's all kind of spelled out. She's like, I thought there was no reason to live, but now I see them together. They're fine because they have each other. I mean, honestly, it works. Like I feel like in this context where you've created a, you know, basically a quarantined apocalypse, you turn the temperature up on everything. People are going to have conversations that they wouldn't have in the real world. Like she might say her feelings, even if it comes off as a little bit like, she is kind of spelling out the theme and the subtext, but I feel like it works.
Yeah. Real quick, it's interesting that it doesn't transfer to animals at all. I guess except chimpanzees. How many chimpanzees are in? Let me see.
I'm looking. You know, I think I feel like a lot of these decisions are probably budgetary decisions. Like it would be tough to have a bunch of. We have to now have a bunch of zombified horses and squirrels running around. Like the other thing is there's like really no bodies on the streets, and if you listen to them, they'll kind of sell that as like part of the surrealism. Like it just feels spookier and weird. You see totally empty streets. Not exactly realistic.
Yeah, that was where's hold on, there's oh god, I skipped too far ahead. Hold on. There's we don't see a lot of this.
Yeah.
There would be more dead bodies. Like not everyone would become infected. Some of them are going to die in the process. Hold on, let me see here. Do we have a number?
I feel like even the core decision of having him wake up, you know, and it's been 28 days, like to show the breakout and show the downfall of society would probably cost a lot of money. And it ends up working out really well. Like it's such an interesting decision to start 28 days in. Guy wakes up from a coma, so he's in the same boat as we are. It's all new to us. But yeah, I don't know if that was fully an artistic decision.
Well, listen. I couldn't find out how many chimpanzees were in England in 2002.
I forgot what you were working on over there.
But as of right now, there are more than 300 great apes in the UK zoos in total. Now, it just says great apes. Specifically, the Chester Zoo has 26 chimpanzees. Oh, yeah, no, they have. All right, so there's a bunch of chimpanzees in zoos. Technically, if a rage-infected person were to break into a zoo, would it attack a chimpanzee? Is that close enough to humanity? And will we get zombie chimpanzees?
Are we going to get like a Planet of the Apes by way of 28 days later?
With the rage chimps. That'd be awesome. Yeah, because they never show, like, usually with zombie stuff, it doesn't transfer to animals really without, like Resident Evil, they're doing it on purpose and shit. So yeah, that would have been cool to actually see. At first, I thought, like, is the crow infected by the virus? I'm like, I don't think so. I think
he was like picking at a dead body, right?
He was picking at a dead body, but I think that's just like what they do. But in my mind, I misremembered until I watched it. I was like, "Hey, were the crows infected?" Like, no, I'm just thinking of Resident Evil, and I'm mixing up the two.
Spit at him.
Yeah. So the movie ends with them getting away, and 28 days later, Jim wakes up again. and they're looking for they're trying to get the attention of a jet. And I like that we see that the outbreak stopped because eventually they stopped turning people into infected because they all got too sick and tired and they weren't eating because they were so full of rage and they all just starved to death. And they got like the thinnest people in the world to sit there and just like gasp for air. And I'm like, that is actually a kind of cool way because they are technically still alive. They're infected with rage and their whole bodies been taken over by this virus, but they're still like a living, breathing thing that needs sustenance. So that was kind of a cool way to end your apocalypse. It's like, oh, they killed too many people and now they aren't eating. So of course, after like a month or so, most of them are going to die out.
Right. That's one of those images seared into my brain is that super emaciated guy just like laying on his side. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this movie had multiple endings. It was going to end differently where after they crashed through the gate, it was going to cut to Selena and what's her face trying to revive Jim, doing whatever they could to bring him back. And it just doesn't work. He ends up dying, and then they end up trying to call the jet on their own with their big hello sign. I do like that because he's constantly saying hello throughout the whole film. Hello, hello, hello. So to end on hello is pretty funny. Now,
and it lets you do the thing where for a second it just says hell.
Yeah. Now, this movie was going to have a totally different third act. You know about this, right?
Yeah, I remember seeing this on like when I first started buying DVDs. This was one of the first extras I watched. Yeah.
It includes 3 killer alternate endings, although the one alternate ending is just the prologue to the previous alternate ending. That will haunt you for days.
That's not even that impressive. Haunt you for days.
By the way, speaking of DVD, the back of this friggin' thing, I had the full screen version. It doesn't tell you like anything about the movie. It just goes, hailed as the most frightening film since The Exorcist. Acclaimed director Danny Boyle's groundbreaking take on zombie horror isn't just scary, it's absolutely terrifying. No plot synopsis or anything. It's just telling you the movie's good and fuck The Exorcist.
It's really good. Trust us.
It's really good. Hey, you know that movie from the 70s? Fuck that. This movie's better. It's like a lot of horror movies were made after The Exorcist. Why are you going after that one?
One girl projectile vomiting? How about everyone projectile vomiting? Blood.
So I rewatched this again today, and it's got narration from like Danny Boyle, I think. And they were playing with an idea to have like a smaller scale third act. I guess maybe they thought maybe the ending they had with the military and everything might have been too expensive. So they started playing with the idea like, how about we change this? So what was going to happen was they were going to get there. Frank was going to get infected. Instead of killing him, they would knock him out and tie him up. Then that barricade, instead of being a barricade to where the soldiers live, it was going to be to a lab. And they were going to walk around the lab and they were going to find the last surviving guy who works there, barricaded in by himself. And they try to communicate with him. And he lets them know the only way they can really save Frank is if they drain all of his blood and pump new blood in a very specific way that's very convoluted.
A 100% full blood transfusion. There cannot be one drop of infected blood left in his body.
I don't think that's possible, really, right? Because the heart like pumps it to all the different stuff. Like, I feel like that's really impossible to do. I don't know. Let us know. Are any of you scientists? Let me know. So yeah, by the way, this reminds me of I really like the vampire movie Near Dark. Have you ever seen Near Dark by Catherine Bigelow?
No, I haven't.
It's a cult film now, but it was directed by Catherine Bigelow, who did like The Hurt Locker, a very early movie of hers. And funny enough, ex-wife of James Cameron, a bunch of the cast of Aliens is in it. You have Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton and stuff. Really good, underrated vampire movie, but at the end they come up with this fucking blood transfusion thing, and I think if I remember right, even she wasn't thrilled with it to cure the guy of his vampirism, and the movie kind of loses me there. So yeah, they told him like you have to do a complete blood transfusion. So then Jim decides he's going to give all his blood to Frank. I guess because they want to see if it will work, because maybe it'll help the world. I mean, I guess you'd have to go.
But you'd still just be like, it almost is like you'd have to start trading lives, like to get that much blood.
Well, Well,
Yeah.
okay, not as cynical. My idea is like you could go to a blood bank and make this
Right.
work. You don't have to drain a person. If you know what the cure is and you have enough blood as a stockpile, you could probably figure
But
it
if you
out.
want to, you could drain a
Yeah.
person. It's an option.
But it was gonna work. Frank was gonna come back to life, and they were gonna cut to Jim on a table. But then it was gonna be the same room that the chimp from the beginning was in. And they said like there was gonna be this ominous thing where all the TVs would turn on, and they would be all the rage stuff. Because remember, they had like the chimp plugged into stuff, watching like horrible, violent shit. I guess to manufacture the rage. I don't know. They never really get into how it was made. But yeah, that would have been one of the endings. I do like this idea of the last shot being similar to the first shot in the movie.
That would definitely be like a memorable bookend for sure.
Yes, but this is lame. I don't like this. I don't like this. I like that Jim survives at the end. But I think the way they went was better. I know people have this idea that like the deleted ending or deleted scenes are like the better version of something. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of movies that were screwed over in editing and changed, but that's not always the case. Sometimes whatever they landed on is the thing they should have went with. And this is an example of that.
Yeah, and like if I recall correctly, in the voiceover when he's explaining all this, at the end he says why they didn't do this, and it's exactly what we were saying, where he's like, we realize there's no way we could sell the idea that they get literally every drop of blood out of his body, and I think it is a more exciting ending that they went with.
Yeah.
And it still gives you a sort of a more interesting and like thematically resonant bookend. The idea of Jim, quote unquote, becoming the infected. Yeah. And then that great line where he's like, that was longer than a heartbeat. It lands so well. You can definitely sense in the movie there's like a degree of we don't know how to end it. Because when they crash to the gate and it freeze frames, it almost feels like a placeholder. We need to think of an ending. Yeah. And I feel like they didn't want to go with a full-on happy ending. So they kind of went with a happy-ish and weird ending where, okay, they're alive, but it still has that dreamlike, surreal feeling. Like I mentioned before as Jim is waking up, there's a shot that's like upside down where it just says hell. And you're like, what the heck is going on? So it's okay, everybody lives, except for Frank, but the jet isn't stopping for them. So it's a happy-ish ending.
Honestly, the jet couldn't stop. There's no runway there.
Right.
I mean, obviously they want the jet to call like a boat or something to bring them up. What, did you think the jet was going to land and like have them hop in?
Just slow down, do a little flyby, and just jump on.
That's not how jets work, Gil.
I've seen people do it. I think Steve Rogers did that in one of the Captain Americas.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Sorry. Captain America. Yeah. So yeah, I really like 28 Days Later. Like I said, didn't like it when I was younger. Really grown to appreciate it. Really, really, really enjoy it. I'm glad I held on to my DVD all these years because right before 28 Years Later, everyone was like, "There's nowhere to watch it."
Which was
I can't
bad marketing. Like, there's going to be a surge of interest in these movies, and then it's like once everybody's asking for it, they're like, "All right, I guess maybe we should put that out there. Maybe we should release these movies." So dumb.
There were legal shenanigans around this, which I guess we could probably touch on at some point.